Hey everyone, and welcome to the Explainer. Today we are taking an absolutely incredible evolutionary journey. We're going to start with literally the simplest concept in computer science, a single hash map protected by a single mutex. And then we're going to break it, we're going to fix it, and we'll scale it up into an elastic, self-healing, globally distributed architecture. Let's get started. Think about pretty much any product you use today, from a social feed that pops up in 80 milliseconds to a rideshare app mapping out your exact route. All of it relies on an invisible layer of software called the cache. Caches are, quite literally, the load-bearing walls of modern infrastructure. They protect our underlying databases from going totally viral under massive load, basically by providing 10,000 times speedups. We're talking nanoseconds instead of milliseconds. But what happens when our traffic outgrows a single machine? What actually happens when the unforgiving physics of distributed systems completely shatter our simple assumptions about latency and correctness? Okay, let's dive right into this. We've got a structural roadmap with 6 major leaps. 1. The single node limits. 2. Routing and consistent hashing. 3. The zero downtime migration. 4. Virtual nodes and hash skew. 5. Orchestrators and DHTs. And we'll wrap up with 6. Mental models for system design. Starting off with Section 1, the single node limits. We're talking hash maps, mutexes, and the 12-thread problem. Before we can go distributed, we've kind of got to see why a single node is just so incredibly hard to get right. Imagine a 12-core virtual machine, where 12 worker threads are all serializing on a single global hash map. What happens? Massive lock contention and L1 cache thrashing. It's a mess. The solution here relies on a concept called mechanical sympathy. Instead of having threads fighting over locks, which, by the way, is a bit like having 12 cashiers fist-fighting over a single cache register, we align the shard count exactly to the CPU cores. A coordinator thread computes the hash and hands it directly to a pinned data thread. Boom, zero cross-core contention. This is the exact architecture that ultra-fast systems like Redis use to completely bypass single-node limits. But, even if you tune it perfectly, a single node hits a physical brick wall. VMs eventually top out at around 1 to 2 terabytes of RAM. Plus, it's a single point of failure. If that box dies, the blast radius takes down your entire database instantly. And on top of that, we're bound by literal speed of light delays if a user in Mumbai is trying to hit a server in Virginia. So we have no choice but to distribute. And distributing a cache really just boils down to 2 core algorithmic primitives. Storage, as in which keys live where, and routing. Given a specific key, how does the client actually find its owner fast? Moving on to Section 2, routing and consistent hashing, how we navigate the distributed fleet. So let's tackle that routing primitive. How does a client actually navigate this sprawling distributed fleet? Well, there are 2 main architectural approaches here. First, you've got the smart proxy. Think Envoy. The proxy holds the routing table. It keeps the client super simple, but you pay a permanent latency penalty for that extra network hop. Second, we have the smart client approach, which you'll see in Redis cluster. Here, the client itself holds a copy of the routing table and routes directly to the underlying node. You get the absolute lowest possible latency, for sure, but the trade-off, you now have to build and maintain really complex SDKs for every single programming language your engineering team uses. Let's look at the very first algorithm pretty much every engineer tries for this. Naive modulo hashing. It's super simple. You take the key's hash and modulo it by the number of servers. So if you have 6 keys and 2 servers, the math, hash modulo 2, neatly divides them right down the middle. It looks elegant, it's totally deterministic, and it seems perfectly balanced. But man, watch how fast this math turns into a total disaster. Let's say you add just 1 single server to your cluster. Instantly, your algorithm changes to hash modulo 3. The denominator just changed. Look at the math now. 3 out of our 6 keys just remapped to an entirely different server. In a real-world production architecture, adding just 1 node just invalidated 50% of your cache, sending a completely massive read spike straight through to your database. Basically, you just triggered a self-inflicted denial of service attack. And that catastrophe, that is exactly why we need consistent hashing. We completely decouple the hash function from the raw server count. Instead, we use an algorithm that hashes both the servers and the keys onto a fixed virtual ring. To find its data, a key just drops onto the ring and walks clockwise until it bumps into the first server. Now here's the magic. If we scale up and add a new node, only the keys immediately preceding that new server get scooped up. It turns what used to be a global remapping disaster into a localized, totally manageable event. But, and this is crucial,
Consistent hashing is a scalpel. It's not a hammer. You should absolutely avoid it if your table schemas rely heavily on range queries, because the whole point of a hash ring is that it intentionally destroys key locality. Running a scan for all keys starting with user becomes operationally impossible. It's also massively over-engineered if you're just running a tiny two-node cluster. And honestly, if you need exact, mathematically perfect load distribution, the base ring algorithm alone just won't cut it. Section 3, the Zero Downtime Migration Playbook. We're going to add a node live in production. Because theory is easy, right? But how do we actually execute this without dropping live traffic? We follow a really strict architectural playbook. First, spin up the new node. Second, snapshot the data from the previous owner. Third, tail replicate the write log to catch up on any queries we missed during the snapshot. Fourth, stare at your metrics until that replication lag hits exactly 0. Fifth, you do a very brief stop the world pause to atomically swap the ring pointers. Now, how does this fail? Well, usually replication lag never catches up because your write volume is just too heavy. But we survive that by keeping the old data hot, which allows us to instantly roll back if the migration starts going sideways.
All right, Section 4, Virtual Nodes and Hash Skew. Welcome to the law of large numbers.
So here is the dirty little secret of consistent hashing. Hash functions are almost never perfectly uniform, and that creates something called hash skew. By sheer bad luck of the hash math, one single physical server might end up inheriting a massive arc covering like 92% of the key space, while the other servers just sit around twiddling their thumbs. Your beautifully distributed multi-node cluster just accidentally bottlenecked itself right back into a single node.
To fix this skew, we introduce virtual nodes, or vNodes. Instead of placing each physical server onto the ring just once, we assign it 100 to maybe 256 different virtual positions all over the ring. Essentially, it's exactly like giving each server hundreds of lottery tickets. The law of large numbers suddenly kicks in, naturally smoothing out the data distribution. It's brilliant. However, there's a catch. Every vNode represents a discrete unit of data ownership, meaning we've just radically increased our stateful replication complexity across the board.
Section 5, Orchestrators, Failures, and DHTs, keeping the whole system alive. Let's step into the harsh reality of physical hardware. Things die. Hard drives fail, network cables get unplugged. Node removal happens in one of two ways. Graceful shutdowns are easy. It's literally just the reverse of our addition playbook. But an abrupt outage? The orchestrator misses a few heartbeats, forcefully evicts the GED node from the ring, and suddenly all those reads miss the cache and slam into the database. For caching layer, we survive this using defense in depth. By maintaining a replication factor of 2 or 3, it means the next node on the ring already has a warm copy of that data ready to go, saving your database from a totally apocalyptic traffic spike. Which brings us to the absolute most terrifying failure mode of all, split brain. Imagine a network partition occurs, router goes down, and suddenly multiple nodes on either side of the partition simultaneously believe they own and should serve the exact same data. In a distributed architecture, ambiguity is a fatal bug. We literally must have a single source of truth, otherwise our entire data integrity is compromised. So our orchestrator defends against this using strict consensus protocols, stuff like Raft or Zookeeper. We tune our heartbeats with a 3-strike rule to filter out false positives, but most crucially, we use something called fencing tokens. When the orchestrator promotes a new replica, it increments an epoch counter. Let's say the original server was just running a bit slow, not dead, and it comes back online like a zombie trying to serve stale queries. The cluster logic looks at its old epoch token and instantly rejects it. Zombie neutralized. Now, at this point, you might be wondering about entirely decentralized architectures. What about distributed hash tables? Kademlia or Cord, the stuff running IPFS? Why don't caches use them? Honestly, it all comes down to latency. DHTs are built assuming a totally hostile network of peers, requiring routing through multiple hops, order of log n hops. Taking 5 to 10 extra network hops completely destroys a cache's microsecond latency budget. In our enterprise caching architectures, we assume cooperative nodes. That lets us fetch our query in exactly one blazing fast round trip. Which brings us to our final section, Section 6, Mental Models for System Design, Understanding the Physics of Scale.
Let's bring all these mechanics, the hash maps, the consistent rings, the epoch tokens, into a unified philosophy. As our source material beautifully states, every distributed system is a negotiation between consistency, availability, and operational sanity. The engineers who succeed can answer, how will this fail? How will we know? And how do we roll it back? That right there, that is the absolute minimum bar for production engineering.
So I want to leave you with this to ponder. The next time your system scales or your traffic literally doubles overnight, what will break first? Go check your routing math. Look closely for that hash skew. Scrutinize your algorithms. The physics of distributed systems are wildly unforgiving, but with these architectural models in your toolkit, they are entirely masterable. Thanks so much for joining this explainer, and keep building resilient systems.